Welcome again, everyone, to the final session of the CX Marketing Summit. We've heard from CX leaders like ALD, WW, Standard Life Aberdeen, as well as getting the aggregated view of what CMOs are really thinking about from my friend Stefan, SVP of Research and Content for eConsultancy. Now, in this final session, I have the privilege of getting inside the mind of some of the industry's leaders on a particular subject, which is turning anonymous users into customers and those customers into advocates. You could see it as the customer lifetime value funnel from nothing to my best. So let me do some introductions and I'll run through them quickly. We've only got 15 minutes, so I'm going to really keep them sharp on answering the questions we've got so you can get inside their mind. First will be Peter Keeney, Global Engagement Manager from Philips, who's joining us from the Netherlands. Give us a little wave there, Peter. That's great. Lovely. And then you might read the name Jean-Francois, but actually it's JF Lasnier, who's Senior Director of Sales and Marketing at International SOS, who's joining us from France. Look, his hand's already up, waving away. And finally, last but definitely not least, Michael Aho, who's Marketing Automation Leader and Analytics Guru from Bonnier News, who's joining us from Sweden. He waved very early, so very enthusiastic, ready to kick off. So let me get us on to our first question. At the end of the day, when we're talking about that funnel, we're talking about setting priorities as marketing leaders. How do you get that done? And if I may, I'll ask Peter first.
Sure. At the end of the day, for us at Philips, what we do is we work together from an agile perspective. So we've implemented an agile system across the board. It's not just for the developers and the IT professionals anymore. It works for the engagement team. It works for the conversion team and also for the activation team. So I think having that that prioritization across all of the B2B business is a huge help for us to sort of see what's a priority, what's going to be impacted if we aren't working on the same thing at the right time.
Great, thanks, Peter. JF, what's going on with International SOS? How do you run priorities there?
Yes, I really enjoyed what I heard around agility. Agile is a key way really to deliver, and what I like about agility is really the capability to test your ideas with reality. So this idea about doing a proof of concept and starting small with a pilot, really within 2 to 3 months, having concrete data on those projects that you're launching, and being able to decide whether or not you want to scale up or decommission. And this idea at the end of the pilot is actually a prioritization that is made easy because it's facing reality and not only purely discussing around the PowerPoint.
Great, thanks, JF. There's the common thread of Agile already. Michael, how do you do this inside Bonnier?
Yeah, initially it was getting clear on our business strategies, our core objectives as sales, generating leads, to increase engagement and how it connects to data use, customer experience and lifetime value, and to continue on developing these KPIs. But to enable long-term sustainable growth around data use potential, our experience is that it's at least as important to prioritize our development opportunities, our data practices, to grow our skill set and team over time, and to improve our cross-functional work to enable the momentum around what we can do with automation technology and our modernization opportunities ongoing.
Thank you. So cross-functional, there's a really key moment that you gave us there, just Michael, at the end of that. So, which I think is going to feed into my second question, which is looking at the role of customer data across those priorities. And you mentioned cross-functional collaboration. So how, when different departments often see different sets of data, how does customer data change or affect those priorities? Maybe, Peter, if we can start with you again.
Yeah, I think we see that all the time with looking at data hygiene and making sure that we're getting the right data into the system in order to not just prioritize, but even function as a marketing team with those markets that are using the data. So for example, we had heard quite a bit from our markets that we were capturing too much data, and that a lot of it was irrelevant and not helpful from an audience segmentation. So I think hearing that sort of information and understanding what we need versus what we don't need, and what is way too much icing on the cake, and where we can carve some things out, is really important. So we did cut back from 17 data capture fields for our lead forms to down to 9, which is a huge savings in time and energy, but also for the markets and data they don't need.
Great, so that's prioritizing the capture at the start point, so you're not drowning in it too much. GF, International SOS, how are you doing it there?
It's amazing because times have changed now. 10 years ago, people would have said, yeah, data collection is an issue and we need to collect. And now it's really about trying to make sure that we filter and we have really relevant data. So a few examples or initiatives that have been done at SOS that probably resonate with your question is, first, there is this role of a chief data officer that is existing to make sure that really we have someone who has visibility on every department and is able to decide the usage, but more importantly, align the definition of what is this data for all the departments. So having this capability of making sure that there is a common interest and common definition between all departments is a key initiative. And then the second one that is close to my heart is, I love data and analytics. We are dealing with lots of data that is amazing and we learn a lot about our clients, but data has one weakness is they're a bit fragile, and sometimes we have the tendency to tweak it enough simply to be sure that they tell us the truth we want to hear. And to avoid that, we're trying to really make sure that we don't underestimate all our employees that are really the voice of our clients. So data is not helping us to set priorities. The data is going to be able to prioritize or I would say, justify some priorities that have been given by the voice of our clients, or account managers, or sales, the people who are in the assistance center, or top management and leaders who are really know and know the future of our businesses. This is the way data is really just an illustration of a strategy and a set of projects we decide.
Thank you. Reminds me of one of the conversations we definitely had earlier today, which is data into insight, into action. So it's not just data on its own. You've got to have that insight surrounding it. It sounds like insight almost leading it and then justified by data.
Very correct. You can uncover things with data, but at the end, it's important that it's a business leader and someone who knows the business and the market who at the end decides.
Great. Michael, how are you solving this unlinked or linked customer data? How's it affecting priority setting inside Bonnier?
It's a challenge, let me tell you. So we use agile forums covering our biggest development opportunities around data use. And our daily practices consist of data-driven optimizations of forums that cover what we can do around our customers and our data. So for example, on the lead generation side, our wider team work very close with the marketing and sales funnel touchpoints every week and develop our insights and dialogues around how we can improve with data and act as one cross-functional team nowadays. And I would say this is our proactive type of approach and a foundation that helps us to win market awards and continue our growth long term. It's getting better and better, but it's a big challenge to get this momentum going and people to work together and understand how this connects with data use, I think.
Yeah, Michael, you and I spoke about this last week when we were discussing it, and I thought it was an amazing approach to, rather than just looking at the data or even looking at what you think are the priorities and then taking them to the team, but that ability to say, what are the team brilliant at and what are the tools capable of, and actually starting there is an amazing way of progressing fast. Okay, I've got a final question for you, and it's probably not a question you're expecting, but it's one that we like to ask, and it's the end of our CX Summit, so I thought I should. And it's, you've just spoken about collaboration across departments. So I'd like to think, you know, we're partners with all three of you. So the first part of the question is, how are we helping you? And second part of the question is, we try and live in an agile world and get our feedback as much as we can, is how can we improve? So let's go back the other way around. Maybe let's start with Michael and see what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, sure. So I think you can help us by continuing being in the front and to develop more two-way integrations for multi-channel, and then just packing in more data practices in as few tools as possible, and really giving the digital marketeers the power to realize great data practices while keeping the closeness to our customer understanding and our business understanding and these needs.
I feel like starting my safe harbor statement, but I'm sure there are going to be many announcements over the next 6 and 12 months that will make you excited, Michael. JF, what are we doing well helping you, and how can we improve?
It's a big question. How do you value a relationship? I would say that a relationship can really be tested in this time, during difficult time, not necessarily on COVID, but the business has changed so much. And I have to say that Oracle, especially in difficult moments, whether they were technical or really we had to shift our value proposition, where they are trying really to help us. And most important, they knew that if International SOS is succeeding, at the end, it's Oracle who's succeeding. And so you can't have a better relationship when your partner is actually making sure that you're succeeding. And in terms of what can you do to improve, I would say please keep having this attitude. I know that we have an important workshop in the coming weeks or months where you're going to discuss and review our vision and see how you can assist us. I would recommend you to do it with all your clients, and making sure that your account managers have actually enough time to really provide insight and share their time with their clients. I know it's always a struggle when an account manager has too many clients to be in charge.
Okay, so we need to give you more and more focus, Jeff, but great to hear about the workshops. Thank you very much. Peter, inside the behemoth that is Philips, what are we doing well? How are we helping, and how can we improve?
Yeah, I think last year we sort of hit our stride with Oracle and really kind of looked at things like having monthly meetings, really talking about database hygiene, what we were doing right, what we were doing okay, but we could have done better, really giving us those insights where we are maybe not using our database to the best of its ability. So I think those workshops are really important, and I know we've got probably 3 or 4 upcoming in the next 6 weeks. But I also think maybe getting in front of us a little bit and doing more of that proactive, are you doing this, checking that box, rather than me kind of going back to the product owner saying, hey, I have this crazy idea. What if we did this in marketing? And they're like, don't think you can do that, or I think you can do that, but let me check with the experts. So I think maybe being a little more proactive, but quite frankly, I feel like this year it was leaps and bounds of growth with all of us in 2020. And I think part of that was just because of a pandemic and having to change the way we do business. I don't think anybody was immune to that this past year.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, JF. Thanks, Michael. Thanks to our audience for an incredible CX Marketing Summit we've had. It's great to get some feedback like that. I feel that I'm going to go with a skip and a step as I head into the evening and get back to my homeschooling. I know you guys are also living in the practical real world of the new normal. But I really thank you for your time, and thanks to the audience for such an incredible just over an hour that we've had. Cheers, guys. Bye.